Okay, I don't know what the practice number it is, but gave the guys a little break today. We went half of practice, and then after the break, had one of our kickers try a 38-yard field goal. Told the team if he made it, they had the rest of practice off. So that got some juice going with him, and I'm glad he made it because he did. So they got a little bit off, and I usually do that. I got a little soft today, I guess, but I usually do that one time during camp. You know, our guys get freshened up a little bit. I'll have tomorrow's practice in shorts, and then probably have our biggest scrimmage of the camp on Saturday.
So, Rich, as this thing starts to wind down in terms of camp, some position groups that you think, hey, we've got the depth and the talent there to be as good as I want them to be. Are there a few of those positions?
So I guess to be determined, right? You know, I think there's so many spots that, you know, with only two guys that had actually really played a lot for us last year here, there's still so many questions, you know, that we think we're more athletic than we were in the spring. Now, are they as athletic as some of the guys from last year? There were some really good players that were seniors last year. But, you know, like the secondary, I know we struggled a little bit in the secondary. I like, and even in the spring I was a little concerned, but I like where we're at. We got some older guys there in the secondary, so I think they've progressed well. And the O-line is all new, but it's a hard-working group, but none of them have really played, so there's still some questions there. You know, the deepest position group we got is quarterback, and that's a good thing. You can't have too many of those, and those guys are continuing to progress. So, you know, I'm not saying it because we said it a bunch of times. There's a lot to figure out in the next couple of weeks, and there's probably going to be some more figuring it out after we play games.
Do you have the depth in your defensive line that you think is reasonable, or still worried there?
Still a little concerned with that. I think everybody wants those guys. I like the way they worked and I think we got a couple pass rushers out of the portal that we needed. You know, you can't have too many pass rushers, so we intentionally targeted guys that we thought that they were at least, you know, guys that you'd want to have on third and long or second and long and doing pass rush stuff. So our pass rush group got a lot better in the last 5 months.
A guy like Siders, we talked to him earlier this week. What do you see from him from your perspective?
Yeah, plays really hard, athletic guy, really intelligent. One of those that was just mentioned about really good pass rusher and probably going to be a really good special teams guy too. But we added, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 5 or 6 guys since spring ball to help it to get after the quarterback.
Rich, when you add a transfer this late into camp, like you said you're trying to do, what's your strategy to get them up to speed? Do you just throw them right in, or you let them
Just you know, there's no classes right now, so we got them all day, and we got to make sure that, you know, we're not doing too much too soon. They got to work their way into shape. Our guys that have been practicing with us are going to be better shape than somebody new, but you know, we got plenty of time to meet with them. You know, we got to try to keep it simple, but I think there's always a possibility, 1 or 2 more. Now, what's going to be out there right now is going to be, you know, a lot less because everybody else is working. But there's been some interest for some guys that could help us.
Is it at this point when you're bringing guys in, like he's mentioning with transfers, are you more doing it to take shots on guys and more for depth, or would you say they're more necessities at this point?
Oh no, if you're bringing them now, it's a necessity. It's not like let's bring him in to be a practice player. Let's bring him in here to be on a scout team. It's bringing in let's compete and see if he can help us win. You know, I don't think it's unlike the NFL. They constantly have, you know, the practice squad guys or free agents they pick up off the street. You know, not that we're picking up free agents and paying them off the street, but we're kind of picking up free agents. You know, so I think it's from that regard. So yeah, well, We'll see what happens. School starts in 6 days, so we got 6 more days.
A guy like Jaden Bray, you brought him to media day. How has he come along in these practices?
Yeah, I've been really impressed. He's a really hard worker. He's probably, we have those GPS vests that measure how fast they go during practice, their explosiveness, and how many yards, which I don't know how to do it, but it works, how many yards they go, and we look at that every day, and he is either 1, 2, or 3 after every practice with the amount of volume he goes. So he's playing a position that gets a lot of yards, playing outside receiver, but he works really hard, and he's a physical guy. He's done a great job picking up what we do, and I think he's going to be poised for a really good year.
As you start to go through and determine who is it you think can help you, is there like one group that, yes, we know these guys are playing, and a group that, hey, we'd like to get them in a game, see how they respond, that's kind of on that border?
Yeah, I think there will be. I think there's going to be quite a bit of that. And again, Saturday scrimmage will help a little bit. Then obviously there's 2 more weeks, but nothing will tell you better than the game. And so sometimes, you should be able to project this is how well he'll play. But there are guys that, when the games are there, it's another deal. They're either faster or more physical, or sometimes it may be too much for them too soon, what have you. So we're going to find out a lot in the first few games. And I'm just going on past experience, even last year. I mean, I thought I knew that we had a bunch of new players, but I thought kind of we knew, and then learned a lesson in the first couple of weeks. There were some guys that were better than we thought, and we needed to play them more.
Is there a common characteristic that you find with those guys who are kind of like gamers, so to speak, where they're better in the game? Is there a common thread with those guys?
Yeah, and I think, and I'm not one that believes that, hey, this guy is, he's an average practice player, but he's going to be, he's a gamer kind of like that doesn't go over well, So it ain't like, okay, he can loaf during practice, but because he'll go full speed in the game. That's not how we roll. You got to go all the time. But there are guys that I don't want to say get nervous or don't get nervous. There are guys that are ultra competitive. I guess it is. The ones that are ultra competitive are the ones that you can see a little bit of that in practice, but then when you're playing against somebody in a different color jersey and they're keeping score or whatever, that gets heightened even more. And I love the guys that are ultra competitive.
Don't you practice that way though? I mean, you're a practice sport. You practice way more than you play. Do you try to manufacture those competitive things to find out who the gamers are?
Yeah, we keep score in practice, offense against defense, and my man Dusty is the commissioner. He's the sole commissioner of it. So nobody can complain because Dusty's not going to hear it. And he's also the PA announcer, so he'll let them know who won the play and remind them of the score, and gets after it pretty good. So I don't know if the players, but we started doing that about a week ago, and we'll do it. We'll do it every day up until game time.
Rich, it's start of move-in day for the university.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, today.
Okay.
It used to be a huge deal around here too, but that starts in June now for you guys, I guess. So it's not a big deal for you, but do you remember your first?
Oh yeah, and I I came here as a walk-on, but then grew up an hour at Grandtown's, an hour from here. It might as well have been 10 hours from here. I had never been, I'd never been up here, been on campus, and got dropped off. I think I might even got dropped off on the wrong side of the stadium, and then nobody knew who I was, and I didn't know anybody either. And I told them I was here, and so one of the GAs or something got me on this side of the stadium, and then pointed to me where the Towers dorm was at, which we all stayed in a dorm for 3 years. And not that everybody played in the back, it was tougher, but we walked 6 times a day because we didn't have no shuttle. And we had 3 days, right? So you walk from the Towers to here, and then back in the morning practice, back again in the afternoon, and back again for the evening. So it was 6 times a day walking back and forth from the Towers. And I loved it. I was like, man, this is playing Division I football. Made some friends really, real quick. I remember orientation too, because you got orientation was about this time, and you had it. You know, we did orientation together, all the freshmen together. So, and it was pretty neat. But it was, I remember not being overwhelmed, but being like, okay, I'm coming from Little Grant Town, and it's a pretty big stadium here, you know. Oh, it was fun.
Do you still have GAs that go around, check, night check, vet check type stuff? Or?
Oh, not as much. Yeah, there used to be easy, right? When guys were, because everybody was in the dorm except the seniors, so you could check curfew in 20 minutes. Just go on, knock the doors. But now they all live. The young guys, the freshmen, they call it the dorms, but it's not dorms. Now these are nice. They're like apartments. They're like little apartments over that way, and then everybody else has got their own place, and so yeah, we don't like go to their house, but we threaten that, hey, we could stop by any time, so we know where they live, and this is a small enough town, we know where they live, but if they're not getting their sleep, they're not living right, it's going to show up.
Hey, Rich, what changes in scrimmage 2 compared to scrimmage 1? Is it the sell that, hey, this is your last major scrimmage, your last chance to identify, or does the level of complexity, since you've had additional practice time, when your play calls, you have more in? What makes this one more
I
significant?
think more of that we have more in, then also I'm going to direct the coaches to even be less involved with corrections and helping than we were last time. There's still coaches kind of interject a little bit. There's some things, but I want our players to be really aware of the situation. And usually we're yelling out when it's third down or yelling out when it's a short yard situation, don't jump off sides. And we'll do that in the game, but I don't want our coaches doing that tomorrow, Saturday. So I want to see how much they can grasp on their own without our help.
Care to share who the kicker was that ended practice early?
Yeah, it was Ethan.
Okay,
Head.
good.
Yeah.
You kind of a couple times have called holding penalties, turnovers. Yesterday you said shot plays, you'd rather have first downs. Just this sounds very simple, maybe that's the point, but how much of a goal is just consistently gaining yardage and not having no gain, incomplete, -2, just stringing momentum together and keeping the pressure on the defense?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to take a shot play, and you have, if they're giving it to you, you got to take some, right? But I may have mentioned it in here. I don't know if anybody's ever done the stat. I think I had one of my guys this year. If you have 0 negative yardage plays, that means no 5-yard penalty, 10-yard penalty, no 1-yard loss, 2-yard loss. If you have 0 negative yardage plays and 0 turnovers, you win 100% of the time. Not 99%. Now people say, turnovers is important, but it's also negative yardage plays. So don't take a sack. Don't have self-inflicted penalties, procedure penalties, or what have you. Holding penalty. Holding penalty is like a turnover. And a lot of that is discipline. The pre-snap penalties are discipline. The holding penalties is sometimes discipline, sometimes it's bad technique. But in the turnovers, most turnovers occur not because somebody forced a turnover. Most of them occur because of a mistake, and usually it's a mental mistake. So those are the things that we did not do a good job of in the last scrimmage. Those are one of the things that, maybe to Tony's point, that we got to do a better job getting positive yards. You have the ball, keep the ball, they can't score.
Have you had any of those no mistake games?
Oh, I've never had one. I don't know if anybody ever had, but I think maybe I had one that was close. I think probably the closest one we had was in 2013. It was at Arizona, and we were playing Marcus Mariota in Oregon, and they were a top 10, 5 team, whatever it was, at home. We were playing them at home. And I think we had 1 or 2, or maybe 1 5-yard penalty, maybe one -1 yard run, no turnovers, and we won on 42-13 or something. That was the cleanest game I'd ever coached, from an offensive deal. And our quarterback, B.J. Denker, had a great game, took care of the ball, and didn't have a lot of deep balls, but he was getting first downs and all that. So that was, that kind of verified the point that we were trying to make with that.
How did that happen?
What's that?
How did that happen?
In that game? Yeah, and that was late in the year, but that was like the 10th game or something. Like, it was like late in the year, and it was a little bit, it never rains in Arizona. It actually rained a little bit, I think, that day. And the guys, it was just like a normal week of practice. But during that game, they was just really dialed in, and BJ made great decisions. He didn't make, and it was, in fact, remember the first play, I'm bragging on, we had a kid named Scooby Wright, who was an All-American linebacker there, great player. Anyway, the first play of the game, who Marcus Mariota was a tremendous player, was a great player of the game. We had worked in August. One day we had worked on fumble recoveries, but also fumble recoveries if the ball was going out of bounds and you couldn't recover it with your feet inbounds. You leave the field of play with your feet. And while you're in the air, you catch it and throw the ball back in play to a teammate. The first play of the game, it happened that. We had worked on it one day in August. This is in November. The very first play of the game, the ball got tipped. One of our DBs left the field of play, caught it midair, threw it into Scooby Wright for an interception on the very first play of the day. And we hadn't talked about that in 3 months. And I'm like, I think it's going to be a pretty good day. And it was.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.